Billionaire investor Tim Draper is predicting a Bitcoin price of $250,000 within the next 2 years. This is his reasoning.
I'll tell you the reasoning I have. Every industry goes through this sort of thing where you kind of go, it goes up to a point and then it drops back down. It gets kind of a hype point because everybody's saying, oh my God, this is going to be so great. And everybody's excited about it, but it's not ready yet. It's not ready for prime time yet. And so then it drops back down while all those engineers are working and building and making it so that it fulfills its dream that was at the top of the hype curve there. And then it goes way beyond what anybody ever imagined. And so I think the 250,000 might be conservative, but I felt that it would get to a point after all the engineers had figured out that they could, once they had figured out how to put it together, like take the blockchain, turn it into a balance sheet and an income statement, be able to tax with it, have the ability to accept it as retailers, and have the transactions happen as quickly as they do with the Visa network, that it would be that this only represents like 5% of all the market for currency. And I thought, well, yeah, it can definitely hit that. And then I actually think from there, it goes up steadily because it's going to be needed. More and more people are going to be using it, and they'll use it not just for a store of value, not just for remittance, not just for micropayments, but as a currency. And so it's going to have that value. It'll just keep going.
I'm reading some of your comments. I'm responding to some of your comments, and I can see what many of you are saying. You're right. Tim Draper has bet on Bitcoin before. The first time, all the way back in 2013, Tim Draper bet that Bitcoin would hit a price of $10,000 within the next 3 years. A $10,000 Bitcoin price in 2013 was seen as ludicrous at the time.
2013, Bitcoin was about 200, and I made that prediction that it would hit 10,000 by 2017. And then, weirdly, about 3 years to the day, it hit 10,000. And it went beyond that, came back down to about 4,000.
I know. I'm reading some of your comments. You're right. And then in 2018, Tim Draper predicted Bitcoin would hit $250,000 by 2022. As you know, that didn't happen. Tim Draper has taken accountability for what turned out to be a wrong prediction for $250K by 2022. Tim Draper has adjusted his time frame for his $250K Bitcoin price forecast. According to his most recent tweet on Friday, Tim Draper now believes it could take until the end of June 2025 for Bitcoin to reach a price point of $250,000 per one coin. Well, what was the reason you were wrong, Tim? What was the reason Bitcoin did not reach the level in the timing you thought it would take? Well, Draper recently criticized, or rather raised concerns regarding crypto regulation in America, and criticized the enforcement approach taken by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, suppressing prices. Regulation by enforcement is killing our economy, he says. It's killing China too. I think we've got a real problem because the SEC has been spreading fear and all of the innovators are leaving the country. This regulation by enforcement makes no sense. So a $250,000 price per Bitcoin by 2025, do you think this is reasonable? Do you think this will happen? Tim Draper is sure of this. This is Tim Draper explaining the exact moment when a light bulb went off in his head. Bitcoin will hit $250,000 per coin because of this. By the way, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Daily videos just like this, keeping you informed on the entire cryptocurrency market. If you're interested in making money in cryptocurrency, subscribe to our channel, Daily Videos.
A real light bulb went off when Sebastian Serrano went through Boost. And Boost is an accelerator my son created. And he went through Boost and he said, I've lived in Argentina all my life, and my parents' fortune has been built and then disappeared 3 times in my life, and I'm only 30 years old. And he said, currency manipulation is almost worse than, one of these African governments that comes in says your money, I'm taking your business from you with guns. So anyway, he said Bitcoin is our savior. There are only 21 million of them. They can't inflate out of it. They can't print money and destroy my value. I can build a business that has great value, and no one can take that away because it's global and it's frictionless and can move from one country to another.
But Bitcoin is so volatile, Tim Draper, that can't happen. Bitcoin is too volatile.
People say, oh, it's very volatile. And I say, what are you talking about? One Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. It's all these other currencies that are very volatile as they slowly disappear from use.
I think this will happen eventually. By 2025, likely. But at some point, this will happen. The question is, so once Bitcoin hits $250,000 per coin, Tim Draper, are you going to sell?
And then they say, well, so are you going to sell your Bitcoin? And I say, into what? What am I going to do? Take the currency of the future and trade it for the currency of the past? What? It's like taking dollars and converting them to Confederate dollars, or taking euros, converting them to French francs or drachma. I mean, you don't want those.
I remember drachma.
Those currencies are no good.
No good, yeah.
And so I'm very excited about the future. I think we're going to have a currency that is global and no longer tribal. All our currencies were tribal. We used to all be tribal until the internet came along. The borders really meant something important, like you don't cross this border or else we're going to have a war.
Right.
But now we want to cross the borders because we want to trade. And that all came with the internet. And now with Bitcoin, we have something to trade with that's trusted on both sides of that border.
And then what will the future look like if Tim Draper is right? What will the future look like when Bitcoin hits $250,000 per coin? What is Tim Draper's big dream?
My big hope is that I am going to be able to raise a fund in Bitcoin, they pay me in fiat, turn it all into Bitcoin, then invest in Bitcoin into all these startups, and then have all the startups pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, and have the whole thing on a smart contract, so that we keep perfect records, not just between me and my investors, but also between me and my entrepreneurs, and so that the entrepreneur can easily show, look, here's how we've spent the money. And so I can keep an eye on how people are spending their money. And I can say, well, what about this? And he said, oh yeah, that was a mistake we made back when. How about this? And he says, oh, I didn't really see that. And we've got to figure out how to tighten that up or do something with it. That kind of thing is very difficult to do with fiat and banks and entrepreneurs. But if it's the whole cash flow is all done in Bitcoin, it can be automatic, and you won't need the accountant, the auditor, the bookkeeper. You don't even need the lawyer for the whole thing, because it would all be built in a smart contract. So that's the vision I have.
Hey, if you'll be in Portugal around the 10th through 12th of July, use our code Altcoin Daily 50 for 50% off tickets to Blockdown Festival. It's not just a conference, it's an experience, it's a festival. We'll be speaking there, we'll be hanging around. I hope to see you there. Again, use our code 50% off tickets.